And then one day my father came home. He was incredibly drunk, and he wasn't alone. He brought a couple of his friends from the bar, and they were looking at me in a very uncomfortable way.
Your daughter is pretty cute. How old is she? Her? Oh, she's 16. That's old enough. How much to have some fun with her?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Rather than get upset and kick them out, my father began negotiating with me. It was so disgusting that he would sell his own daughter out for sex with his friends. Seriously, how messed up in the head does a person need to be to do? Hey there, I have done something really bad. Although I'm sure once you hear my whole story, you may just agree that I did the right thing. Well, maybe not exactly agree with me, but you may just have some sympathy for me at least. My relationship with my parents has always been pretty rocky. Actually, it's been downright toxic if I'm being honest. My parents quite literally would tell me that they hated me and that they wished I had never been born at least once a week. To be honest, it's kind of amazing that I turned out as good as I have. There are some moments that stand out more than others though, like when I was 7.
Oh look, it's the little runt that lives with us. What are you doing?
I'm watching cartoons. I always watch cartoons on Saturday mornings.
Yeah, well scram. There's a movie I want to watch. Also go clean up the kitchen.
But I can barely reach the counter. I'm only 7.
I don't care. Figure it out. I swear, having you was the worst thing your mother and I ever did. All you ever do is complain and waste our money.
But Dad, how am I supposed to clean the counters and dishes when I can't reach them?
I said to figure it out.
He then slapped me a few times. Hard enough that I almost lost consciousness, but I managed not to. Terrified, I ran to the kitchen and using a chair, I just barely managed to clean up the counters and wash the dishes. It wasn't easy since I was so small, but I did my best, and thankfully, I didn't get hit again. At least not on that day. Things never really got any better. Both my parents worked at the same factory and would get laid off from time to time. When they did, money would be tight, and that would usually be when my parents would be at their meanest. Hey Mom and Dad, is there something to eat? I'm starving.
Starving? You already ate too much today as it is. You'll get fat if you keep eating like that.
I had 2 pieces of toast for breakfast, and then nothing else all day. Please, can I just have something with protein in it?
Such an ungrateful child. We're hungry too, but you don't see us complaining.
Well, maybe if you didn't spend so much money on liquor and cigarettes, then we would have more money for food.
What did you just say? Did you just accuse us of spending our hard-earned money incorrectly?
I could tell that he had been drinking, and that even though I was starving, that if I kept asking, that it would only get me beat up. It was a waste of time to even ask, since they had already spent their money on alcohol and cigarettes. It used to make me so angry that they would waste so much money on things like that. It was as if they didn't even want to live since they were so focused on getting drunk all the time. There were even times when my father would throw empty beer bottles at me while calling me all sorts of nasty and mean names. A few years later, I got myself a part-time job, and I thought that that would put an end to all of their harassment. But sadly, it only whetted their appetite.
You're such a freeloading runt. I can't wait until you are 18 and we can legally kick you out of our house.
Here, Dad, take this.
What is this?
I got a part-time job. I figured that since money is tight right now, that if I worked and brought some money into the house, that it would help out so we can have enough money for food.
You ungrateful little brat. You've been holding out on us. You damn well better give me whatever money you make.
I, of course, didn't give them everything that I would make. I knew well enough that they wouldn't spend it on food or anything important. Instead, my father would use it to just buy more whiskey. And so I kept enough money for my paycheck so that I could afford to buy some meals for myself. I made sure to hide the food that I bought so that they wouldn't accuse me of stealing from them. Once I started bringing them money, my father stopped threatening to kick me out. I guess he enjoyed the little extra money that I gave to him every week. But even though they stopped complaining about me costing them money for food, or at least they complained a little less, that didn't stop my father from complaining about me wasting so much time with school. I could never understand why, but my father saw going to school as a complete waste of time.
Where are you heading?
I'm just off to school. Afterwards, I'll be at my part-time job.
You know, if you didn't go to school, you could work more hours at your job, and then you would have more money to help out the family. You're such a selfish bitch.
I always tried to ignore them when they said things like that, but it was getting harder to bite my tongue. I knew that one day I would have to leave because things would get out of hand, but I had no idea just how right I was. I packed a bag and stashed money away so that I could leave at a moment's notice just in case. And then one day my father came home. He was incredibly drunk, and he wasn't alone. He brought a couple of his friends from the bar, and they were looking at me in a very uncomfortable way.
Your daughter is pretty cute. How old is she? Her? Oh, she's 16. That's old enough. How much to have some fun with her?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Rather than get upset and kick them out, my father began negotiating with them. It was so disgusting that he would sell his own daughter out for sex with his friends. Seriously, how messed up in the head does a person need to be to do something like that? That was the last straw. There was no way that I was going to have sex with those gross men. I grabbed my bag and money and snuck out while my father struck a deal with them. I didn't even take my phone with me for fear that they could use it to track me. I wasn't sure if they would help me, but I did know of a shelter that catered to women that had abusive husbands. Thankfully, they let me stay there a few nights while I figured out something a bit more permanent. Luckily, I made friends with one of the women at the shelter, and she agreed that I could move in with her so long as I helped out with the rent. And so my life was a bit harder for a bit, but honestly, I was so much happier. My new roommate was very reasonable about how much she expected me to pay, and really helped me to finish high school and apply to business school, where I excelled and eventually graduated. After that, I got a job as an accountant for a company and was able to make enough money that I ended up getting my own place. It was great, and things were finally coming together. But then, my parents decided to come for a visit. I got home from work one day, and a few minutes later, I heard a knock on my door. When I went to answer it, my parents were standing there, and they looked incredibly upset. The one thing that surprised me was that my father was wearing an eye patch. I was so confused that I wasn't ready to stop them as they pushed past me and made themselves at home in my house. "What are you doing? Who said you could just come into my house?"
Well, you're our daughter. Of course we have the right to come into your house. Why wouldn't we?
"Because we haven't spoken in years. The last time we talked, you tried to sell me to your drunken friends."
Yeah, thanks. They beat me up because you ran away, and I ended up being hurt so bad that I lost my eye. This eye patch is all your fault.
Well, good. It's just a shame that they didn't hurt you more. How could you possibly be so messed up to think that doing that to your own daughter was acceptable? Now get out of my home.
No, we won't. We lost our house, and the least you can do is let us stay here.
Yeah, you're doing well for yourself. It's the least you can do.
I'm not going to warn you again. Get out, or I'll make you leave.
Ha! What is a weak little runt going to do about it?
Angry, I walked past him and grabbed a frying pan from the kitchen, and then ran back to the living room and smacked him over the head with it when he was in a daze. I hit him a couple more times just to make sure that he was out of it before turning towards my mother. "Now you two need to leave, and don't think for a second that I won't hit him again, or you either, Mom. Both of you are absolute trash people that deserve to live in the gutter." Terrified, my mother scooped up my father and led him out of my house. After that, I didn't see them again, but I heard through other people that they were indeed living on the streets. They had lost their house because they fell behind on their bills because they wasted so much money on booze and eventually drugs as well. Part of me thinks that they have probably died from an overdose or they picked a fight with the wrong person, but honestly, I don't care. It took a lot of effort for me to escape the tragic life that they were forcing me into, and there is no way that I was going to let them drag me down into the gutter with them. So, what do you think? Did I overreact, or do you think I should have maybe hit that asshole a few more times with the frying pan?
You stupid girl. You're just like your mother. I knew it was a bad idea letting a woman so low to marry my precious son. Stop crying, stupid. Your voice makes my skin crawl.
Yes, that's my father-in-law, Mr. Roberts. My name is Rosaline, and I've been married to my husband, Christopher, for 8 years. We have 2 kids together, aged 6 and 4. Our first child, Jack, was born 2 years after our wedding, and his sister, Michelle, was born 2 years after him. We're planning to relocate our family to the UK after living with my in-law in their mansion for the whole 8 years. Christopher is a medical doctor, while I'm a nurse. He attended a well-known medical school, while I attended an average one. We met during our interview at the hospital we both worked at, and immediately connected. We only dated for about 6 months before Christopher and I decided that we were ready to get married. On the day he took me to his parents, I knew there would be problems. His kind mother liked me instantly, but I couldn't say the same for his father.
What job do you do, young lady?
I'm a nurse at the same hospital where Christopher works, sir.
Oh? What school did you attend?
The moment I answered that question, he changed.
That's an average school. Are your parents poor?
Honestly, my parents, before their death, weren't wealthy, but they did the best they could for me. They died after I graduated from high school, so I had to do part-time jobs to see myself through college. When I told my father-in-law that, he flared up.
What? An orphan? How dare you think I will accept this marriage, Christopher? She not only attended a school below our standard, she's also an orphan. I love Rose, father. Please, don't talk down on her and give us your blessings.
It took quite a long time before Mr. Roberts eventually allowed us to get married. I knew he hated me, but my mother-in-law's kindness was enough for me. At the wedding, when it was time to give his speech, he took his time to embarrass me as much as he wanted.
Honestly, I'd wanted a better girl for my son. I worked my ass off to gain this wealth. I also made sure to send my son to the best medical school. So it's quite a shame that he's decided to marry a girl that's not only a poor orphan, but also below his league. Anyway, since they claim to love each other, do I have a choice to oppose?
I was utterly embarrassed, but I held it all in with a smile. Before the wedding, my father-in-law had asked us to live with him in his mansion. His reason:
You're both busy. It would be better to have your family here with us. We'll take care of the kids while you're away.
I thought it was a great suggestion, so we agreed. After our honeymoon, we began living with them. My father-in-law was even worse. He would intentionally bring his friends over while I was off duty at the hospital.
This is my daughter-in-law. I'm quite ashamed as she went to a low-class college, but what can a father do? My son wanted a classless woman.
Right in my face, he would join hands with his friends to mock me. I took it in as I respected him. When I had Jack, my father-in-law was the happiest.
He has such a striking resemblance with me and his father. My boy.
I was glad. He didn't like me, but he loved my son. It was enough for me. Whenever I wasn't home, he would take care of Jack. He made sure my son never lacked anything. Although he still made fun of my educational level every opportunity he got, I was consoled by the fact that he loved my son. However, I was mistaken. I realized that when I had my second child, Michelle.
A girl? Ugh, she looks so much like her poor mother. It would have been better if she looked like me or Christopher.
How could he make such a comment about a newly born? I was angry, but I let it slide. As the children grew up, my father-in-law got worse. He showed it to the kids who his favorite grandkid was. Often, I would return from work to meet my daughter isolated in the living room, while my son was with his grandfather. I was sad, but I knew there was nothing I could do. Christopher noticed his father's behavior one day, when the man left home for their day trip and returned home on the third day with only a gift for Jack.
Grandfather, didn't you get one for Michelle? She loves chocolate too.
My father-in-law dismissed his question with a smile. My son crawled to his sister after my father-in-law left and offered her some of his.
Are you sad about what grandfather did?
No, I know grandfather doesn't like me.
I was broken. The child knew he didn't like her. That was a shame. That day, Christopher and I took the kids out for ice cream. We also made them play games and do everything they wanted together. When we returned home and put the children to sleep, Christoph and I decided to have a question about it. He hates her because she looks like me. He could just punish me. Why does he have to involve my child? It's so unfair. I was getting close to tears. It was so sad that he was being that way to my daughter.
I think you should quit your job, honey. I earn enough to take care of us all, so you can quit. You can be able to watch over the kids yourself and stop my dad's favoritism.
Do I have to quit? Can't you just talk to him about it? I love being a nurse. I can't quit my job. We thought for a while, and Christopher had another suggestion.
I'll speak to Mother then. She'll help with Michelle whenever Father takes Jack.
I didn't like that it had to resort to that. I didn't want to separate my kids. I wanted them to grow up having each other's back and loving themselves. Do we have to make the kids be raised that way? Your father's going to influence our son soon? Is that when we're going to actually make a move towards stopping him?
I have plans, Rose. I plan to move our family to the UK. That's why I'm working so hard. Please understand.
I agreed, and we spoke to my mother-in-law. She advised us to work harder and leave quickly before my father-in-law succeeded in making my son like him. Christopher and I worked 2 times harder. While we worked, the few times we were home, we always reminded our kids about the need to love each other and never let anyone come between them. Jack was smart. I knew he loved his sister, but he was still a kid and could be swayed, so we continuously worked on preventing that from happening. My mother-in-law also helped. Whenever we weren't available, she brought the kids together to remind them of the need to always love and protect each other. Once, during Thanksgiving, while I was preparing the food, my father-in-law walked into the kitchen to meet Jack and I there. Jack loved to watch me cook.
What? How dare you bring my grandson in here?
He's my son, father, and my son loves to watch me cook. I don't see how that's a problem.
It is a problem, Rosaline. My grandson does not belong to the kitchen. Your daughter should be here, not my precious grandson.
Why? He wants to be here.
Well, I don't care. I'm taking him with me. You can call that child of yours who looks as greedy and poor as you to be in the kitchen.
I watched as he picked up Jack and took him away. My mother-in-law soon walked in.
Pay no attention to his words, darling. I'll be here with you.
Together, we prepared the meal. 2 months later, my son celebrated his 6th birthday. My father-in-law got him the best gifts. However, for my daughter's 4th birthday, she didn't get even as much as a wish from him. My husband, her brother, my mother-in-law, and I made it memorable for her. We got her as many colorful gifts as we could get, and showered her with wishes and birthday songs. Christopher and I already got a house in the UK, and were processing our travel documents. Only my mother-in-law was aware about it. 2 months later, it was my grandfather's birthday. I was slicing the cakes in the kitchen when I heard him yelling. Alerted, I quickly dropped the knife and dashed upstairs to where his voice sounded from, which was his room.
You stupid girl. You're just like your mother. I knew it was a bad idea letting a woman so low to marry my precious son. Stop crying, stupid. Your voice makes my skin crawl.
I felt furious. How could he say they to a 4-year-old? Worst of it, my daughter was in tears, staring at the floor. I felt my heart sink. My husband and mother-in-law came in too. I was about to speak, but my son beat me to it.
Why are you being unfair to Michelle, grandfather? She only asked if you wanted to play with her, and you hit her and said all that. Do you hate her, grandfather?
My heart sank even deeper. My young son had noticed his bitterness toward my daughter, whose only offense was to look like her mother.
Yes, I hate her. I only love you, Jack. Your sister's good for nothing. She's just like your mother. They're both useless.
That's enough, Mr. Roberts. How dare you say that to my children's faces? Are you so shameless?
You know, Father, I've tolerated how hostile and unfair you've been toward my daughter. How dare you think you can try to separate my kids? Kids, Jack is your only child. You should kick this poor woman and her child out. They don't deserve you. The girl is going to grow up like her mother, stupid and foolish.
That's enough from you, Roberts. Are you insane? You've been this way from the time we got married. You even made me abort our 2nd child because you thought she would grow up to become like me. Now that's enough. I won't let you tear my son's family apart.
He was furious, hearing his wife speak so boldly. As he raised his hand to slap her, Christopher stopped him.
Not anymore, you evil man. I won't let you hit her anymore. You hear me?
I grabbed my kids.
Grandfather is a bad man. He doesn't like Michelle and wants me to hate her too.
You should be ashamed, Mr. Roberts. That day, we took our things and headed to a hotel. My mother-in-law followed. She'd had enough and was going to divorce him. Christopher and I worked on getting transferred, while my mother-in-law worked on their divorce. 2 months after staying at the hotel, we all left for the UK, excluding my father-in-law. My mother-in-law had gotten half his properties from their divorce. She sold it all to start a fresh life in the UK. She got a house of her own and started a clothing line there, while Christopher and I worked harder. We had a trusted maid who looked after our kids. It'd been 10 years now. We heard my father-in-law had stroke, and even at the hospital, he wasn't so kind to the nurses, and so the nurses treated him horribly. He ended up dying alone. We've been at peace, and our kids are growing with love. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.